Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Addie. Today's video is all the books that I read in the month of June. I read 9 books and I am going to finish a book today, and it's currently June 30th. It's the last day of the month, but I'm not going to include it because it's going to be in a reading vlog next week, and I honestly didn't think I'd finish it this fast. I did not plan for this. We're not going to talk about it yet. It's just going to be a next month wrap up, or in the vlog next week if you want to see my thoughts. This month for reading, I read 9 books. I read 14 the month before. That was because I had 2 weeks long straight of sitting on a beach and only reading for 8 hours a day. Honestly, June was a really busy month for me, and I'm very happy that I got the 9 done that I did. So let's just get into all the books I read. We're starting off with a very good one. The first book I read was Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. I loved this book, guys. Like, I was not expecting to love it. Like, I've heard incredibly mixed things, so I was going into it very apprehensively. Like, I heard a lot of people say it was boring, and I don't think it was boring. I think it was a jolly good time. I'm just obsessed with like just the atmosphere of this book. It was a gothic fantasy mystery, kind of, the best way I would describe it, and the gothic element was on point. It was so much fun. It reminded me slightly of House of Hollow, and we all know how much I love that book, and I adored this, guys. Like, it was a little bit of a slow start, I will say, but once I got into it, when she was like, the main girl basically, like, for some reason, Death is like a character too. Death cannot get to her. Like, she just can't really die. Like, Death tried and he's like, oh, can't get ya. But her parents have died and like she's an orphan and she keeps going from family to family member, but Death keeps coming for her family member, so she just keeps to have to like transferring from family to family, and they're not very nice family either. Finally, she gets taken in by like her rich like second cousin or something. They live in like this place like Thorn Grove, and once she gets to Thorn Grove, that's where it gets so much fun and so interesting. She gets there and she's in like weird things going on. There's ghosts, there's a murder mystery element, there's Death as a character, which was so much fun. The gothic vibes were just immaculate, and I had so much fun. Only reason I haven't read Foxglove yet, because I ended on a cliffhanger. I really wanted to get into Foxglove, but it wasn't out in paperback yet, and I saw that it was coming out in paperback in July, and I was like, I can wait that long. So I think I'm gonna read Foxglove next month because I'm super excited about it. But I totally recommend this book, guys. I liked it so much more than I thought I would. Also, the sprayed edges are fun too. This would be a good like October read, I feel. Really like this book. I rated it in the 4-star category. It wasn't exactly a 5 stars, but like it was kind of close, so I would say around 4 stars. The next book that I read is A Treacherous Curse by Diana Raybourn. This is the 3rd installment of the Veronica Speedwell series. I love the Veronica Speedwell series, and I feel like my ratings of this series so far is not reflecting my love of it, so I might have to reevaluate, because the first one I rated 3. I'm probably going to change that to a 4 the more I like sit on it. The second one was a 4 and this one is a 3. I do stand by this being a 3. Those ratings, that's why I don't love to rate things, because like even though I rate, they're not like 5 stars. I feel like this is like a 5-star series. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but like my attachment to it is pretty high. So I don't know. I don't love rating things unless like I know it's a 5-star, because it doesn't accurately represent all of my feelings going into it. I think the reason this one was probably my least favorite of it up to date, they were investigating a like Egyptian curse, which was really fun. It just didn't keep me on my toes like a murder mystery does, and I just love murder mysteries. So I think just like the plot point in this one was not my particular cup of tea. My cat's like stretching and she like is like moaning while she does that. I don't know what she's doing. But overall though, like just the atmosphere, it's like late 1800s London, which is a great time period. It's basically, the series is just these 2 characters, Veronica, who is she studies butterflies, she's a natural scientist, and Stoker, who is also a natural scientist. In the first book they begrudgingly become allies, and then they form a friendship and they solve mysteries together like throughout London, and it's so much fun. I am just obsessed with this series and I'm very excited to continue on with it. The next book that I read was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and another one that I pleasantly enjoyed. I love Ashley Poston's writing. She never fails to make me want to underline things. It's just so lyrical and so beautiful. Like, however, this storyline kind of fell a little flat. The writing is what saved, like, kept me reading, kept me interested, intrigued. I got to the end and like of the romance and I was like, kind of realized I was a little bit more invested than I originally thought. Throughout the whole book I was like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. But then like the last like 20% I was like, wait a minute, do I care? I guess I cared more than I thought about it. I think my only issue is with this is that it is a romance novel and there wasn't enough romance for me. Like, if I'm gonna go in and like read a romance book, I want some romance. But we're 100 pages in into a 300-page book. The main characters hadn't really talked, and then like by the end that made it kind of feel rushed because it was like, what do you mean you love each other? Like, you don't know each other. Like, what? That was my only issue with the book. Otherwise, the characters and the writing were beautiful. I love Ashley Poston. I just got a novel love story and I am ecstatic to read that. She still is one of my favorite romance authors just because like the way she writes her books just like scratches my brain in the right way, and I love her and I can't wait to keep reading her books. The next book I read was, if you watch my reading vlog you know how I feel about this, It's Never by Jessa Hastings. This was on my TBR. I never like planned on reading it, however I picked it in my Song Chooses vlog and I didn't like I don't want to say I hated it because that's mean, and I don't like to say I hate things because it's very negative of me and I try not to be that negative most of the time. I strongly dislike this book. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Jessa Hastings is another author. I love her writing. I love it, and I loved it in this book. Everything else though was not good. There was so much wrong with this book. I don't even know where to start, and I don't really want to deep dive into it because like this could be someone's favorite book and I don't want to like yuck someone's yum. I don't like to do that. I will talk about like my really like valid criticisms of it. I also DNF'd it, so maybe I shouldn't be talking that much. The romance was, there's no romance. She was 17. I think the Hook character was like late 20s or something, in his 30s. I don't know how old this man was. He was too old to be looking at a 17-year-old is all I know. I'm like, can we just make her 18? Please, like just for like my peace of mind. Change the one little number. And who's honestly like, why is Peter Pan like a little narcissist in this book? And we're expected to like him? Like, I know Jessa Hastings makes unlikable characters because I read that in Magnolia Parks, but the Magnolia Parks characters have reasons for being unlikable where you can be like, okay, I understand like where this is coming from, and maybe if I finished the book I would understand why these characters are so unlikable, but they were just so unlikable. I was like, I don't even care. I don't care. I don't want to finish you. I can't say I recommend this book. I didn't particularly enjoy it and I do not regret DNFing it. Then the next book, this was another one of my Song Chooses one, and I'm very happy I got it because it made me feel like I had some brain cells again, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. As you can see, I annotated this one. I adored this book and it's kind of entering me into like feeling like I could read classics, which may be a little bit delusional of me because this is like a modern classic. Still, like I want to read more like kind of like iconic literature like this. This book has so many mixed reviews. I was sleuthing on Goodreads afterwards. I see the criticisms, I understand them, but for me this book just like really made me think about like society and like made me think about like my experience as a woman in America, because this book basically like is near future America, but it's been taken over by like a very extreme religious group. Women are basically just seen as ways to breed essentially, and that forms the handmaids who are sold to rich families to like carry their child. What I found particularly interesting in this book was I loved reading about like the dynamics between other like women. Like, it wasn't like the women versus men, it was like how the women were pitted against each other and like how they all viewed each other, and I thought that was very interesting to read about. This book was written from the point of view from one specific handmaid. She was telling the story in a way where it felt like she was just kind of recounting what was going on in her mind so she can like stay sane it was like, okay, this is happening, like for her own sanity. I saw one criticism where it was like, oh, she jumps around a lot, and I'm like it feels very scattered, and I really liked that because it doesn't work in every book for sure, but in this one I thought it did. Obviously this world is very tumultuous. She lived a normal life, like the lives we live now, up until a few years ago when this group took over. She lost her daughter, she doesn't know where her husband is, and now she's just like seen as like a breeder from this new family she lives with. Like, of course her thoughts are scattered and everywhere. Like, it felt very realistic for what this character was going through. I really enjoyed this book and I rated it 5 stars. It kind of encouraged me to read other classics. I kind of want to dive into that world now. And then the next book I read was very different vibe. It is the second Bridgerton books. This was Anthony and Kate's story. I don't know. This book for me was like just there. I had kind of a fun time while reading it, but not really. There's some things I enjoyed, some things I didn't. Like, it was just very like vanilla. I have not thought about it since. I didn't really care. Kind of a fun time while it was going on, I guess. But I think my big issue is I just really didn't like that like he was courting her sister. I was like, can we not do this, please? Like, no. And in the beginning, like, they were like, this is true enemies to lovers. Like, they were like really mean to each other, and I'm like too sensitive for that. I'm like, like, I would just cry. I really wanted to be into the Bridgerton books because I heard so much hype about the show, and I love Regency romances, so it should be something that's up my alley. I just don't think these books, like, they're not bad. Well, the first one wasn't great, but this one wasn't bad. But I just don't think I enjoy them enough to read 6 more books in this series. So I think this is where my Bridgerton journey is going to end, but that's okay. This book was definitely better than the first one, so if you didn't like the first one, I would definitely say give this a chance to see if the Bridgerton books are more up your alley, but for me, personally, meh. The next book that I read was Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. Honestly, I only read the Ruinous Love trilogy because they've been like book club picks. I probably wouldn't pick this up otherwise. I primarily listened to this on audio, and the audiobook was pretty good. So the first one and second one, these are both serial killer romances, which seems like something that morally I should be against. But once you read them, like why they kill, who they kill, you're kind of like, okay, all right. It's a little morally gray, but like, you feel a little better about it. I feel like the first one was definitely more gory. Like, there wasn't, this one kind of, I watch true crime, I listen to true crime podcasts, like I read true crime books, like I read a lot of like thriller mysteries, so it takes a little bit for me to be like squirming a little bit, and the first book made me squirm. During the actual like gory bits, like it had me like a little bit gagged. This one was not as bad though, in my opinion. Like, there were definitely like gory parts, but like nowhere to the extreme of the first book. Definitely read trigger warnings though. There's a list of them in the front for a very good reason, so definitely read those. Overall, I liked the kind of little mystery. The romance was good. I liked the romance better in the first one, but overall the romance was good in this one. I will read the third one if it is selected as a book club pick, but I don't think I'm going to reach for it if it's not. The romance is good though, so like if your vibe is gory romance, you're gonna love this. And I do like a gory romance. This is like fun. I had a lot of fun reading it. I just don't think about these books ever when I'm not reading them, so I do recommend them for like just kind of like a fun time, which sounds weird for a serial killer romance, but you'll have to read them to believe me that they are pretty fun. The next book I read, guys, oh my god, this is like, sometimes I read a book and I'm like, oh, I wish I was vlogging when I read this, and this is one of those because I love this book. This is one of my, one of my new all-time favorite books. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I want to go back and tab it. I have tons of stuff underlined in here. This book is so good. Like 5 stars, easily 5 stars. Her writing style is one of my favorite writing styles I've ever read in my life. Like, it's so lyrical and so beautiful. Like, the way she describes things is just gorgeous. Okay, here's a quote that I really like in it. One of many. For what was a person but the sum of all the scraps of their memory and experience? A finite set of components with an infinite array of expressions. Like, it's just pretty writing. I love it. And this whole book just feels so atmospheric and so otherworldly, and it is taking place in another world. So basically it's about Laszlo Strange. He's had a very hard childhood. He was an orphan, and when he was 13 he finally gets transferred to be a librarian's apprentice, and he loves stories, but particularly the one he loves the most is the mystery of the city of Weep. No outsider has ever been there. He is fascinated. He wants to know everything about it. His dream is to go to Weep and just see it. And one day, this opportunity to go to Weep and solve the mystery of what happened, why everyone can't remember the name of it, comes when the Godslayer comes to take some outsiders to get their perspective. Like, I love also, like, this is a YA novel. I really love the messages that are in this book. Like, the character development, like, there are characters in here, like, you kind of, it's Laszlo's point of view, and then you get another point of view that's kind of a main one later, but sometimes you jump around to some side characters, and those, like, characters, like, you really don't like them. Like, there are characters you kind of hate, but the character development throughout this book, magnificent. I love it. I don't want to tell you too much because I feel like you should go into it not knowing a lot, because that's how I went into it, and I don't want to like give too much away. But trust me when I say this is a masterpiece. I adored this book. The last book I read this month was also another winner, which was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Again, I did not think I was going to finish this by the end of the month, so this is going to be in a reading vlog next week, so don't want to talk too much about it. I think it's probably one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books that I've ever read. I adored it. It was just so much fun. This was super fast-paced, way more fast-paced than I think any of his books really have been, in my opinion. I feel like I'm finally getting to the point in my Cosmere reading journey where I'm seeing connections between the worlds, which has been so much fun. It's kind of making me be like, okay, now, like, I've liked these books, but like I've loved them, some of them even, but like I'm starting to understand like the cult following that comes along with these books, and it's kind of really getting to me. Like, I'm so excited for Words of Radiance now. Probably gonna read that sometime this month, or at least start it. I'm glad I read this in between The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance because, well, I thought I saw some connections, but like I'm never that confident in myself, so I was looking it up. I was like, is this a connection? And like I saw like the little Reddit thing that came up that things in this book also come up in Words of Radiance, and I'm so excited to start seeing those connections as well. Anyway, this was a good little break in between the first two Stormlights though. It was 600 pages, but it didn't feel that long. I really liked all the characters in here. The world was super unique, as all of his worlds are. This is the first of his books that I've read though where I didn't like deeply despise one of the main characters. So that was fun, and always enjoy that. Also, look at my little Mass Market paperback. This is like all they have. Like all I could find. This is what we got. It's a little beat up, but that's okay. We love her. That concludes my June wrap up. As I said, I am reading a book right now that I am going to finish today, which technically should be included in this video, but I don't want to spoil too much of the reading vlog next week. But it is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. So I think we all know how I'm feeling about that. This month was interesting. I had books that I hated and I found a new all-time favorite. Quite the roller coaster of a month, I will say. I have reading vlogs for a lot of these books on this list, and I post a lot of reading vlogs. So if you want to see me reading these books or reading future books, please subscribe to my channel and comment below what books you read in June and what was your favorite. I want to know so I can add some more books to the never-ending TBR. But thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to see what July brings me. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!